frequency they've been given was built to keep them trapped. Underneath it, there's a room in their own minds they were never given the key to. Your mission is simple, but it won't be easy. Find it, break the lock, awaken them. Alias, Drew Skywalker. Destination, the hidden reality.
What's good? What's good? So welcome in. This is Free Game Friday, and today's topic is why sex will never fulfill you. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because it's imperative for men in 2026 to understand that having certain sexual experiences or always answering your lust, it'll never fulfill you. It'll never fill the internal gaps that you got inside your chest. It's not going to give you this heightened sense of life that you think it is, that leads a lot of men to ruin. It makes them chase tail every single day of their life. Like, it's men that wake up and the first thing on their mind is, what can I do to have sex with a different woman tonight, or with any woman for that matter? Because some men ain't even getting it because they can't get past that aspect of themselves. So they can't even behave like normal people, like normal men. So they can't appeal to women in any other way than the surface. So they can't even get what they're looking for. And this is not a new phenomenon, because since the beginning of men as we know them today, lust has been a common obstacle. It's always been a factor that's ruined empires, that's taken down kingdoms. We see Samson in the Bible, a man that was known as one of the strongest men in history, fell victim to a woman that he shouldn't have been with. Simple as that. And in today's time, in 2026, it's so important for us to understand that concept, because we now live in a time where it's way easier to fall victim to your lust, and it's much harder to get out of the trouble that it can bring, because now we got all this AI, people getting better with computers and creating fabrications of real life. So that only amplifies the amount of traps that are present when it comes to falling victim to your lust as a man. So the only men that'll survive, and not necessarily survive in a literal sense, but more so in an energetic sense, the only men that'll survive today's time is the ones that get control over their lust, over their sexual desire. And it's a specific way that I do that personally, that I realized over my years of life, from watching other men and how they made missteps, how I made missteps in my own life, and the women that I found myself dealing with because I was answering my lust versus using my logic. And I'll get to it in point 3. But first, I want to talk about how it's a great separation going on amongst men. And it's primarily grounded in lust. The men that can control their urge are separating themselves from the men that can't, and not even necessarily consciously. It's just a natural separation that's going on in terms of success, fulfillment, what they get out of life. Because it's men, right? Like, I've been a bartender for years. So I've been a bartender for probably like 7-8 years. So I've seen this cycle firsthand, how men come in and first of all, they consume alcohol. So they allow that to get inside them and chemically affect them in a way that the lust takes over. So they pursuing women that they ain't got no business dealing with, that ain't even attractive, but just because she got a big butt or her body shaped a certain way, they can't help themselves. So I've seen these same men pursue these women, but to their own ruin. You know what I'm saying? Like, they either end up getting them pregnant or end up catching some, or even worse, like catch a case behind it. Like, this man sitting in jail right now because they dealt with the wrong woman, and her feelings got hurt, or it was not as much as she wanted it to be, and then she put a accusation on their name, you know. And seeing that cycle, it started to present itself as a pattern to me, because I realized, like, hold up, there's something going on here. And, you know, we always told growing up to watch who we have sex with, watch what women that we get involved with, but to see how many men ruin their lives, it showed me that it's something deeper there that we gotta fight to control. And the thing about lust is it's a natural, not necessarily lust, but the sexual desire is a natural part of us, but it graduates into lust when it's the only thing that your mind can focus on, because it takes you beyond all reason, all logic, and it causes you to get intertwined with women that you shouldn't be intertwined with. And that's why I'm going back to the great separation that's going on. It's only the men that can look past that base level animalistic urge and use their logic to decide who they're dealing with, that'll be successful in this world. It's gonna make it to this next phase of life. Because like I said, like it's a lot of traps being set for men who can't control the eggplant, they can't control their wood, and it's economies built around the fact that most men can't keep it in their pants, that most men have to answer their urge day in and day out, whether it be pornography, whether it be the prostitution industry, whatever industry you want to name, OnlyFans, all of that. It's people that's looking to profit off the fact that you can't control the lower part of yourself. And if you don't get it in check, you'll become a victim. Because like I said, it's men with all these adverse versions of their life that they could have avoided if they simply had left that woman alone. But the need to experience her sexually pulled them into this abyss that they now live in. So if you as a man want to avoid that, if you want to always be in control of your life, you got to watch how you step in when it comes to the women that you having sex with. You got to watch the path. I made a video yesterday talking about the surrounding facts of a woman's life. If you was buying a car, I would advise you to look at the car facts. Go look at the history of this car, the accident history, the maintenance history. Look at how this car is being taken care of, or how it's been taken care of. And when it's applied to women, you got to look at the surrounding facts. You got to look at the elements of her life that she can't fake, the ones that show up no matter what she says about who she is. You got to look at that. And if more men started to move in that way, then they will be able to beat their lust. I call it specifically pre-nut clarity. We all know about post-nut clarity, where you have sex with a girl, you have your release, and then you land there like, dang, like I could have went without this. Like, I don't even really like this girl. Like, I don't want to be around her right now that the sex is over. And any man that's ever had sex, we done all had that feeling before. And what I say when I mean pre-nut clarity, it's the same clearness, the same logic, but before you do it with the woman, before you get intertwined with that woman. And it's a little bit harder than post-nut clarity, because post-nut clarity comes after the physical release. So you literally releasing that fluid from your body, so it changes your internal world for a certain period of time. But with pre-nut clarity, you have to literally fight yourself. You have to fight that base level urge when it's trying to talk to you, but you got to drown it out with your own logic. You got to look beyond the physical aspects of the woman and what's attracting you to her in that capacity, and think about, okay, what about her attracts me beyond? What attributes, what aspects of her character, what is it about her that would bring more joy to my life, or bring more happiness, that would raise my frequency? What about this woman will bring me to a higher dimension if I dealt with her? And if you find yourself struggling to get answers to that question, you find yourself struggling to close that loop within your own mind before you have sex with her, you most likely should not be having sex with her. And that's what I had to realize, because it's a lot of women that we look at them on the surface and we believe that the physical aspects of them will give us some heightened experience. But if we really do some investigating, some research, some observation about these women that we getting intertwined with, we'll realize that they really ain't about nothing. And that small, them few seconds, milliseconds of release and pleasure that'll come at the end of having sex with her is not worth the lifetime of issues that could come behind having sex with her. And that's where the separation will come big time, because the men that can start having those conversations with themselves, even in the midst of their sexual desire, these are the ones that are going to create the gap. They're the ones that are going to rule the world, because in the near future, it's we got AI, how it's developing. So it's going to be very hard to determine what's real and what's fake. So if you already a man that's controlled by your lust, and you constantly draining yourself of that natural essence that you possess as a man, you're going to be one of the worst victims, because not only are they going to set better traps for you, but they also going to come with worse consequences, and it's going to cost you real aspects of your life: time, money, reputation. And these are all things that you got to look at, because just like the food industry, I talked about the food industry Wednesday, over time, the higher ups, or whatever you want to call them, the general society has learned how profitable it is to attack someone's lowest desire, because it's the one that they need to survive. It's the one that they allow to step forward. It's like a animalistic thing, like an animal. It's just an instinct. It's not even thought about, and that's what I'm getting at with this live today, is that you have to start thinking about your lust when it starts to rise, and you have to push it back down and redistribute it in better ways. I talk about sexual transmutation a lot in my content and over the years. And sexual transmutation is basically taking the energy, the urges that come with your natural sexual desire, and placing them into more productive channels. So over the years, like shows back in the day, they used to do episodes about this, where a man would try to give up sex, but he would try to channel it into exercise or something. Every time he wanted to hit up a girl, or go over a crib or whatever, he would drop down and do some push-ups. And that's just a simple version, but it's infinite ways that you can do that, because the thing about sexual desire is that it's the driving force of the world. If you never heard that, that's what it is. It's the driving force, and it's not necessarily that it's sex itself. It's just the energy behind it. It's the energy to produce, reproduce. And what I mean when I say that is that just like it takes two people having sex and then 9 months to conceive a child, the growth of that child and that process, the energy that created that is also the same energy that can create a book or a movie or an event, because it takes the idea, the seed, and it has to be placed in the right environment, the womb. Then it has to have time to grow and cultivate. And then at the end of a certain period, you have the baby, or the end result, the product, whatever you want to place in that, place in that space. That's what you get at the end. So going back to the overall topic of this, if you can get control of your lust as a man, you'll find fulfillment that's never ending, because now you're not tied to that physical level of life. Now you up in the ether, you're in your mind. So as long as you can keep coming up with ideas, you can keep having these same type of fulfillments, these same moments of pleasure that people think they're going to find in having a bunch of sex all the time. But now you flipped it to another dimension. So I talked about taking control of your life and jumping to new realities. This is a quick way to do it, especially for men, because most of a man's life is spent in trying to determine his value so he can have these sexual experiences, or that he can have the fruits that come from having a woman in your life and being able to have children, or having her there by your side to help you build whatever it is you stacking up. And a man can fold all those rewards very quickly and very efficiently just by controlling himself. It ain't even nothing that requires help from the outside world. It's just you having conversations with yourself and understanding that sex will never take the place of you fulfilling your purpose, your God-given mission. Nothing of, even though it comes with its own pleasures and it can help you. It does relax you in certain ways, or the energy, like I said, the energy behind it can push you to achieve certain things, can motivate you in certain moments. The flip side of it is that it can also destroy you. So it's best if you gain majority control over it now, and don't let it get to a point where some adverse result is the reason that brought you to the light, is the thing that made you see clearly. See it now. And going back once more before I close out, practice pre-nut clarity. So when you have feelings of lust, when you start thinking about a woman sexually, immediately start to make a list in your head, maybe even physically, maybe you even need to write it down. Like maybe there's a woman that you really like, and you like what you've seen of her so far. So now the next step is sex. But if it's questionable to you what might come after, make a list to write it down. You ain't got to show nobody, but I'm just telling you, you need to be clear on what it is about this woman that would make the sex worth it. What would make her presence in your life worth it afterwards? Because if you don't, we now living in 2026 where a lot of people's minds are fried. So if you don't take time to look beyond the surface, you might find yourself dealing with a woman that could ruin your life, and not even intentionally. She might just be at a certain point in her life that's catastrophic if it intertwined with yours, if it mixed with yours, what you got going on. So now is the time to take back control and understand that it's on you to fulfill yourself, and nothing outside of you will fulfill you. You got to get to your mission, accomplish your goals. You got to make it clear why God blessed you with the life, why he blessed you with an opportunity to be here in this exact moment. And it's not going to come through sex. It's never going to close that gap for you. It's never going to check off that box inside of you. So take a step back now, separate yourself from the majority of men that's controlled by what's in their pants, and step into that next dimension. That's the whole point of this live, to take control of your life by taking control of yourself. You know, I don't want this to be too long and drawn out, but like I said, every Friday we'll be having a talk like this, either in the dating, relationships, or social dynamic space, or even more philosophical topics like this, where we dive deeper on surface level aspects of our life. So yeah, so take what I said into the weekend with you. Don't overthink it though. Just keep it in the back of your mind that it's something more to analyze when you going out and you meeting women and you dealing with potential significant others, whatever it may be. Just keep this in the back of your mind that sexual experiences will never fulfill you completely. Use that energy for something bigger. So yeah, but I thank y'all for joining today. Holler at me in my DMs. Hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'm gonna be posting a lot more across all those platforms. But yeah, stay tuned. Look out for the new content. I'll be back here tomorrow for What You Say Saturday. I'll be reading the comics from my previous week's posts, because there's a lot of conversations to be had based on the things that my audience said, but I can't always type it all out. But Y'all stay tuned for that. It'll be tomorrow morning, probably around midday. Yeah. Y'all stay in a word to tell you to stay safe, stay dangerous. Peace.